While Gabby Tallarico's family spent the first 13 years of her life desperately trying to figure out what was causing her terrifying attacks, Jennifer Martin Bray's family could never have imagined the series of agonizing medical emergencies that would be brought on by a single bizarre symptom. In the summer of 1985, Jennifer Martin was leading a seemingly ordinary life in a small New Jersey town and gearing up for her first year in junior high.
I'd had a pretty happy childhood. I loved softball and I used to cheerlead.
She was a happy-go-lucky little thing. She had a lot of school friends.
As her friends start going through puberty that year, Jennifer anxiously waits for her body to begin transforming as well. But she has no idea how dramatically her life is about to change.
Everything was fine until puberty, when she got her period. That's when everything went haywire.
When I turned 13 is when I had my first period. In health class, they talk to you about how it's going to be, and when I got it, it was nothing like what they described in school.
She got her period, she hemorrhaged. I mean, I never saw so much blood. Oh my goodness.
In a state of panic, her mother, Virginia Martin, rushes Jennifer to the ER.
They gave her a sonogram of her stomach and her ovaries.
I was filling a supersized pad 1 an hour.
And they said there was nothing wrong. She was a healthy 13-year-old.
The doctor assures them that Jennifer's body just needs time to adjust and that her period will regulate itself as the months go on. But a year later, she's still suffering from extremely heavy bleeding and severe cramping every month.
When I did have my period, I'd wake up to blood-soaked sheets. The bleeding is so heavy, I would bleed through my clothing at school. If I went out, we would have to stop every hour on the hour so that I could find a restroom because it was as if I was hemorrhaging. So basically, almost 2 weeks out of the month, I couldn't do anything.
Then, shortly after starting high school, Jennifer's periods rise to a whole new level when she begins experiencing incapacitating cramps.
Jennifer would lay on the couch, moan and groan. Ma, it hurts, it hurts. I don't know what's going on. Help me, help me.
To make matters even worse, Jennifer is beginning to feel nauseated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Everything in my stomach felt like it was coming up and sitting right in my throat. I basically would take a bottle of Pepto-Bismol with me everywhere I went.
I mean, there had to be something wrong. We were so frustrated. She was so miserable.
Feeling helpless, Jennifer's mother starts taking her to doctor after doctor, looking for any clue as to what might be causing the bizarre symptoms.
We went to many doctors in a period of 4 years.
But every expert assures Mrs. Martin that her daughter is a healthy, normal teenager and focuses only on treating the symptoms.
Basically, all the physicians that I did go to would give me pain medication. I tried everything. I tried over-the-counter medications, I tried holistic medications, and just nothing was working.
Eventually, the harsh reality sets in. Jennifer is simply going to have to live with the dreadful symptoms.
You know, I just thought, well, maybe this is just me and this is what I'm supposed to be going through. It's just a family thing.
I blame myself. You know, why did I put her on this earth? Why does she have to suffer the way she's suffering? It wasn't fair. It wasn't fair.
Ever since the day she got her first period in 7th grade, 18-year-old Jennifer Martin has been suffering from round-the-clock nausea. And every month during her period, she bleeds so heavily that she's going through a supersized pad every hour. Every doctor she's been to is completely baffled by the strange symptoms. Then, when Jennifer begins college, a terrifying new condition begins to take over her life.
The vertigo first started to be severe and on a daily basis my freshman year of college. I would close my eyes and the room would still be spinning.
Vertigo is the sensation that your surrounding environment is moving, causing dizziness and disorientation.
I still remember times where I couldn't even make it through the doorway because the doorway seemed to have moved on me. In college, I missed a lot of class. I would copy notes from people that were in the class, and basically I just studied from home.
Distraught that her health is keeping her from experiencing a normal college life, Jennifer begins visiting another round of doctors, hoping that this time one of them will be able to figure out what's going on.
We went to ENTs, we went to endocrinologists, we went to neurologists, neurosurgeons, primary cares, gynecologists, you name it, we went to it. Couldn't figure out what was wrong. They just put me on an anti-vertigo medication, but the vertigo medication did not help. The only thing I could do is just curl up in bed and just wish and pray that it would stop.
Then, suddenly, after 2 grueling years of constant dizziness, the vertigo disappears. While no doctor can give her an explanation, Jennifer welcomes the reprieve. She eventually learns to manage the daily nausea and horrible periods well enough, and in 1996, Jennifer finally graduates from college.
It did take me an extra year to graduate because of all the missed classes, but there was never a point where I said no, that I'm going to quit. I just kept on going.
With her degree in hand, Jennifer is feeling optimistic about her future and decides to move to Florida, where her parents have retired. Despite her ongoing symptoms, things start taking a turn for the better in Jennifer's personal life. In December of 2002, she meets Michael Bray at a nearby zoo, and soon after, the two begin a long-distance courtship.
We lived 2 hours away from each other. We would see each other only on weekends. I basically would plan our weekends around the time that I did not have my period.
My first impression, of course, was that she was just very beautiful, but she was very thin. I wasn't sure if she had an eating disorder, but it was something that I figured that we could work through.
I told him basically everything from the get-go. I said to him that I was not a healthy person, did not know what was causing all these problems. I gave him the chance to either stay or leave. His reaction was he was in it for the long haul.
Just 10 months after meeting, Jennifer and Michael tie the knot. While the newlyweds are ecstatic to have found each other, it's clear that Jennifer's illness is having an impact on their relationship.
The physical relationship was difficult, and he felt bad about the situation because anytime we would be intimate, I would have severe incontinence the next day and severe IBS, and he just didn't want to put me through that.
If she was feeling sick, she would just go to the bathroom and she'd be in there for an hour or two. And then she'd come back to bed and just lay down. We just couldn't be intimate together.
I don't know how anyone could ever tolerate me with the way I was.
Despite the heartbreaking struggle with their physical relationship, Jennifer and Michael desperately want to start a family, so they begin searching for an alternative.
I did not think that I could ever have children. I just felt deep down inside that there was something really wrong with me. So we started the adoption process a few months after we got married.
We started to build out the nursery. We got all the furniture and painted, nice, pretty pictures, rainbows.
But as they're excitedly preparing to welcome a child into their lives, something suddenly goes very wrong.
I had the worst stabbing sensation I had ever had in the whole time that I've had my period. It was just so excruciating. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't do anything.
Terrified by the pain, Jennifer visits her gynecologist once again, hoping that this time he'll find some clue as to what's causing her so much distress.
The exam was so painful, more painful than I've ever experienced. He could not move the uterus or anything, and he stated that I had a frozen pelvis. He did an ultrasound and stated that he saw a mass on my left ovary and that he wasn't exactly sure what it was. I lost it because immediately I thought cancer.
Over the past 20 years, more than 70 doctors have examined Jennifer Bray, and not one of them has been able to identify what's causing her excessive monthly bleeding, debilitating cramps, and constant nausea. But now, one doctor has discovered a large mass on her left ovary. Jennifer is sure that she has cancer.
I was dealing with this for so long that I figured if it is cancer, it's probably everywhere.
She knew very well what the survival rates of ovarian cancer were.
Jennifer is determined to find out, for better or worse, what the mass is. So her gynecologist refers her to gynecological surgeon Dr. Stephen McCarris.
She was really a mystery at first. Not only did she have debilitating, painful periods, but she also, as a married patient, couldn't even have relationships with her husband.
But along with these symptoms, Dr. McCarris also has an ovarian mass to consider.
With ovarian masses, we always worry about ovarian cancer.
Dr. McCarris begins running an exhaustive round of tests, including a special CA-125 blood test that will help him determine how likely it is that the growth is malignant.
Her CA-125 was 525 international units. 525. Normal is 0 to 35.
Suddenly, Jennifer's family must come to grips with the very real possibility that she may have cancer.
I think that she had always felt that there was a possibility, but this was the first time that it had actually had concrete numbers behind it.
She's my only child. Do you know what that did to our family? It was rough, really, really rough.
We both wanted kids. We both felt that this was something that could derail the adoption process that we had started.
The first thing that came to mind was, oh my God, we're probably going to have to stop this adoption and we won't have a family.
As Jennifer and her family struggle to come to terms with the likelihood of cancer, Dr. McCarris directs his attention to one thing: finding out exactly what's growing on Jennifer's ovary.
We needed a diagnosis at this point. We had an elevated CA-125 and an ovarian mass. The only way to rule cancer out is to get that tissue into the laboratory and have a pathologist give me a tissue diagnosis.
On October 5th, 2005, Jennifer is wheeled into surgery to have the mass removed and tested.
When I was in the waiting room, I paced up and down like a tiger in a cage.
I did feel that this was a turning point. You know, all the other doctors had given her, drugs or supplements or vitamins. This was a real intervention that I felt was really going to make everything better.
Back in the OR, Dr. McCarris carefully explores Jennifer's lower abdomen laparoscopically, using a tiny camera on the end of a thin guide wire. And what he sees is shocking.
Both ovaries had masses that had grown and expanded to fill her entire pelvic cavity. And the ovaries, which are normally the size of a golf ball, had grown into the sizes of baseballs. I diagnosed Jennifer Bray with stage 4 endometriosis of her entire pelvic organs.
Endometriosis occurs when the tissue that lines the uterus grows outside of it, most often on the ovaries and other pelvic structures. During a normal menstrual cycle, this tissue breaks down and leaves the body through the vagina. But with endometriosis, the lining of the uterus recedes back into the pelvis, attaches to other organs, and grows. This results in internal bleeding and inflammation, and can cause extraordinary pain, infertility, and bowel and urinary bladder problems.
Jennifer Bray is in my top 10 list of patients with this disease.
In fact, Jennifer's endometriosis has invaded her entire pelvic region, including her ovaries, uterus, and fallopian tubes. The extent of the growth is so severe, Dr. McCarris has no choice but to remove all of Jennifer's reproductive organs in order to prevent the endometriosis from attacking any other part of her body.
I think if Jennifer would have continued on the path she was taking, that she would have had major complications from this disease. Jennifer was very close to having rectal endometriosis. Rectal endometriosis then increases the morbidity associated with the disease.
After surgery, when Jennifer comes to, Dr. McCarris explains to her the difficult decision he had to make.
Being only 34 and going through a hysterectomy, I guess would be hard for most people. I took it like a trooper, and I just figured I don't have to worry about periods, I don't have to worry about anything anymore.
Finally, after more than 20 years of living with this mysterious illness, the bizarre symptoms that were controlling Jennifer's life for so long begin to make sense.
The symptoms associated with endometriosis classically are painful periods, pain with intercourse, and irregular menses.
Dr. McCarris explains that Jennifer's constant nausea was likely a result of the agony she was experiencing from the other symptoms.
Her presentation was pain. I'm nauseated, I can't eat, I'm losing weight, and I'm wasting away.
But while she presented many classic symptoms of the disease, the vertigo she experienced is a little trickier to understand.
The one unique fact about endometriosis, it can develop and affect any part of the human body. So I guess it's possible or conceivable that Jennifer had endometriosis of the inner ear. That's just a theory, but this disease is a very unbiased disease.
Finally securing a diagnosis after all these years is a watershed moment for Jennifer and her whole family. But they're not in the clear yet. She still needs to find out the results of the cancer pathology reports. After 3 days in the hospital, Jennifer returns home and waits for the call from Dr. McCarris.
And I'll never forget when I was able to tell her she didn't have any cancer. The mystery was solved. Jennifer now could go on with her life.
Over the next 2 months, Jennifer rapidly returns to normal, a feeling she hasn't experienced since she was a little girl. Shortly afterward, she finishes what she and Michael started right before their last trip to the hospital.
In November of 2006, I traveled to China to meet and pick up our new daughter, Miranda Karis Martin May Lee Bray.
Jennifer is thrilled to have her life back, but can't help but wonder why so many doctors dismissed her symptoms over and over again. Endometriosis is one of the most common gynecological diseases, affecting more than 5.5 million women in North America alone.
This disease is likened the great imitator. And the patient gets turfed from this doctor to that doctor to this test to that test. So the next thing you know, the doctor has lost sight of the problem. The knee-jerk fix is give her a prescription for pain medicine.
Today, Jennifer is a vibrant, healthy 35-year-old woman who is determined to put her past behind her and live for the future.
Jennifer has taught me that no matter how bad things get, if you work through the problems that you have, good things will happen for you in the end.
I think it's important to share your story because In my case, if I would have found someone years ago that had something similar to me, I could have been diagnosed earlier. Today, I feel like I do cartwheels. I'm just so happy, and I've never felt better.